This is Duke University.
Hi everyone, my name is Lisa and I'm an advisor for international talent and startups at the Netherlands Point of Entry. And today I'm going to be giving you a bit of information and a presentation about starting your career in the Netherlands. So a bit about our team. Hal already said, some of the main tasks of what we do. But the Netherlands Point of Entry is a team within the Netherlands Enterprise Agency, and we are the executive body of the Ministry of Economic Affairs. And it is indeed, we are the first stop for international talent looking to relocate to the Netherlands to work or to set up their own business. What we do is we provide information about the financial requirements and also the requirements for the application of a residence permit or the different visas. So if at some point after this presentation, you also have questions about some of the permits that I'm going to be explaining today, feel free to reach out to our team. We always, well, if possible, we schedule one-on-one meetings, which is most of the times. So feel free to reach out in case your questions don't get answered today. We're a very small team, actually, of 4 advisors and someone who helps our team as well. Our advisors are divided into 2 parts. One is for digital acquisition and positioning the Netherlands, and then I myself, with another colleague, are more responsible for, being the contact point for international talent looking to relocate to the Netherlands. So feel free to reach out to us after the session if you have any questions. So the session of today, I'm actually gonna divide it into 2 parts. The first one is a bit about the Netherlands, why the Netherlands, what does the work culture look like, what are the top sectors, so just to familiarize yourself with this country. And the second part will focus more on the expertise of my team, and those are the different residence permits. So I'll be going through all 5 residence permits that we advise on, actually. But before I go there, let me just start to tell you a bit about the Netherlands. I don't know how much you know about it, of course, but the Netherlands, it's a very small country. It's located between Germany and Belgium. But it's often considered the gateway to Europe, and this is primarily due to its, what we call a strategic location, and also due to the presence of the port of Rotterdam, which is the biggest port in Europe, and also Schiphol Airport, which is one of the biggest airports as well, and one of the most connected airports. So in that sense, the Netherlands is a very well-connected country, which I will also be talking about later. But it's also, for example, if you're going to start your business, a very strategic location since it's so close by to big economies. So it's, I mean, if you are within the reach of 500 kilometers, you can already reach 250 million people. So it just has, in that sense, the location of the Netherlands is ideal. And if you look at a bit more what is the quality of life in the Netherlands? It's often considered as a country with a very high quality of life, a good education, and I think also, something that we hear often, a very good health insurance. For example, in terms of safety, it is also for everyone, actually. If you're out at night, it's a relatively safe country to be outside. Also taking the metro or the bus and train. It's all really common in the Netherlands since it's such a small country as well. It's really easy to get around, and also really common for everyone to use these methods of transportation. It's often ranked among one of the happiest countries in the world. We have a very big expat community as well, and expat centers for internationals coming to the Netherlands. I'll actually go more into that at the end of the presentation and show you a map of where they're all located. But basically, every province in the Netherlands and every region has what we call an international welcome center. So these are part of the municipalities, and what they do is they offer support to internationals coming to the Netherlands in different matters. So whether it's help with practical things or more with network building, they're there to help you. And also, in terms of work, the Netherlands actually has the shortest average work week, which is 30.5 hours. It's really common to work part-time here as well. So in that sense, I think the Netherlands does really value a good personal work-life balance. They really appreciate that you work on the one side, but actually your personal life is really important and valued here as well. And well, I can tell you on why the Netherlands or a bit about it, but it's also nice to hear from the stories of other people as to why they moved to the Netherlands, whether this is for their study, to do a PhD and research, or whether it's to start their own company. So what we have created is a platform on our Welcome to NL website in which you can hear from other people what their stories are, why they chose the Netherlands, also what challenges they faced, just the whole process of moving here as well, what permit did they use for their specific purpose of staying in the Netherlands. So if you're interested in hearing it more from real life cases, I would really advise you to explore our website, Welcome to NL, with the success stories, because there's really people in different who move for different reasons. So then maybe if you have entrepreneurial ambitions, or if you want to work for a company, you want to do research, you can read a bit about these different stories. So I do really recommend you to check this out. Then also some insights into the Dutch workplace culture. Well, there are many things. I think some of the important things that I always highlight in this slide is first that the Netherlands is not, in terms of your workplace culture, not a hierarchical, it's not a hierarchical setting. It's very common for you, even if you have a junior position, even if you're younger, to just go to your manager, discuss with them. Also, they really value your input, and that even I myself am a junior, and I know this is as well in my work. They really want to know what you think, what you would do better, and this is really encouraged. That goes together with the aspect that Dutch companies and Dutch organizations value that you work independently. So really find your own form of working. They give you the freedom often to do it the way that you see is best. And that is actually very nice in my experience from, actually, when you start working, you have to find your way. And I feel like that possibility is given here. What is very important is that the Dutch people are always on time, and they also really value this. So that's the aspect of punctuality and precision. Dutch people are also very straightforward. We often hear this back from people, who come to visit or who move to the Netherlands. It's not per se rude. It's just Dutch people do like directness, and I think they see it as efficient. And they also really appreciate it, especially at work, that you are always on time. So if you have a meeting, it's better to be 10 minutes early than 1 minute too late, for example. So I think that's an important insight, into the Dutch work culture, which I think compared to other countries is quite unique to the Netherlands. If you think of career perspective in the Netherlands, we have the presence of some big corporate companies. I don't know if many of you know this, but for example, Booking.com is a Dutch company. We also have ASML, Philips, and all these companies, which is important and relevant to you. They also foster international communities and are also looking for internationals to work for them. So if you are considering a career in the Netherlands, know that there are, well, and I'll go into it in the next slide as well, but just know that there are many corporates looking specifically for English speaking and international talent. Well, what I said earlier as well, the Netherlands is considered the second most connected economy in the world, and that is primarily due to the Port of Rotterdam and to the Schiphol Airport, which are just really, economically relevant to our country. In terms of unemployment rates, we have low unemployment rates. So for every 101 job openings, there are 100 unemployed people, meaning that there are more jobs on the market right now. And lastly is that everyone, well, almost everyone in the Netherlands speaks English, so it's easy to get around. Companies, in some organizations, it's even the working language. Of course, that depends on how many expats or internationals are working there. But anywhere you come, actually, people speak English. So in that sense, I think it's obviously nice to learn Dutch when you move to a country, also to maybe speak to people who do not speak the language. But in terms of getting around, the Netherlands is quite, yeah, you can do so in English. So that's, I think, compared to some other countries, we hear that that's a bit less. So that's also a positive aspect of the Netherlands. And in terms of our key industries, what I mentioned earlier about having big companies in the different sectors, the Netherlands does have some sectors that it specifically is lacking talent or national talent from. So this are companies or sectors in which companies are looking for more international talent. And in this case, you can think about agriculture and food. And for this, we have companies such as Heineken, Campina, Ahold, or Albert Heijn, which is one of the largest supermarkets. I even believe that they have chains in the US. We have water management, which is huge in the Netherlands because we're actually below sea level. So without the dams and the delta wares, well, we would actually not exist. So we have Deltaris, which is also a very yeah, big company and really important in the Netherlands. If you look at logistics, we have KLM, which is one of the our royal yeah, airline. We have the Port of Rotterdam, which I already mentioned. So you see, and for example, energy, we have Vattenfall. So we really, what I try to show in this yeah, with this slide is that we have big companies in very different sectors looking for international talent. So this means that depending on your academic background, of course, there are many different options that you can explore in the Netherlands. Yeah, in these different sections. So I think that's quite important to know. Later in this presentation, I will also give you a QR code to one of our job portals in which you can find more information on job openings at companies that are also specifically looking for international talent. But I will get back to that later in this presentation. But this is just a short, yeah, actual recap on what the Netherlands looks like, what the work culture looked like, what the industries are. Take a look at the testimonials. That way you can hear it also or read it from people who have experienced it firsthand about moving to the Netherlands. But the second part, as I said, I will be going into the different residence permits. So within our team, we actually advise on 5 different residence permits. 2 are for people who have entrepreneurial ambitions. So we have the startup visa and the self-employed visa. 2 are for people who want to work for a company, and that's the highly skilled migrant and the essential startup personnel. I'm not going to go into too much detail of the essential startup personnel because the process of applying for it is more relevant for the employer than it is for the employee. It's good to know that if you are at some point actually seriously considering moving to the Netherlands, that there's an option to work for a startup who might not be able to offer you the highly skilled migrant permit. And the last permit that I'm going to explain is, yeah, actually the one for people who don't know yet what they want to do, and that's the search year or the orientation year visa. So I'm going to start with the startup visa. So this is basically a fast-track program for entrepreneurs who have an innovative business idea. In order to apply for this visa or to be eligible, there are 3 main requirements. One is that your business idea is innovative and new to the Netherlands. The second one is that you partner with a facilitator who is going to guide you during this time. So a facilitator, I'll give more information in the next slide, but it's basically an organization or a company who is an incubator, accelerator, etc., who's going to guide you to build your startup during this year. And the last requirement is that you have proof of sufficient means. At the moment, that is approximately 20,000 euros. The reason that you must prove that you have access to this amount of money is because since you're working, or yeah, basically since the government expects you to work on your startup during this year, they're not expecting you to actually make a salary. but they do need to know that you will be able to pay rent, your groceries, just afford a living in the Netherlands. So they want to see that you have money beforehand. Just more practical, how does this permit look? It's a 1-year permit. So if you want to apply for it, it is important that you find a facilitator who is going to guide you. Once you have found a facilitator who's going to guide you, you have to set an agreement with them in which you set your milestones and goals for the coming year. Once you've done this, you can start the application, you apply for it, and say you get the permit. Well, it's a 1-year permit, and during this time, the facilitator has to guide you for a minimum of 3 months in the Netherlands. And at the end of the year, or towards the end of the year, you're going to sit together with your facilitator again, and you're going to see whether you met all the milestones and goals that you set earlier that year. If that is the case and your facilitator thinks you're going to be able to successfully continue growing your business on your own, they will sign a declaration that basically states this. And in that case, your permit will be extended for another 2 years, but it will be extended and converted into the self-employed permit. So then you can continue working on your business. You no longer have to work with your facilitator, only if you want to, of course, but then at least your visa extended for another 2 years. And then based on how your business continues to grow, it can, of course, be extended again, depending on your salary. So basically a bit about the facilitators. Facilitators are players in the Dutch startup ecosystem. They can be co-working spaces, accelerators, incubators, or venture capitalists. And what they do is that they offer you mentorship. The way that this mentorship looks really depends on what your needs are as a founder and as a startup. So it's a tailored program, but examples of what it can be is one-on-one mentorship. It can be a validation program on the Dutch market. They can help you to obtain investments. So yeah, it's quite varied actually what a facilitator does. And in terms of the facilitators that are currently in the Netherlands, there are 48 recognized facilitators. In order for a facilitator to be able to basically, so to say, sponsor your visa, they have to be recognized by the IND, which is the Immigrations and Naturalization Services. All of the ones in this, what you see in this image, they're all recognized and they're located all around the country. Again, it's a really small country, so if you were to have a facilitator in Amsterdam, for example, but live in Rotterdam, that's only a 40-minute train ride. So it's all really well connected and close by. And some, for example, if you go to Amsterdam, that's more AI focused and fintech. If you go to Wageningen, which is in the east of the country, that's a bit more life sciences focused. If you go to the north, to Groningen, that's a bit more medical technology. So it's a bit divided in that sense, but many facilitators also focus on different sectors. But I think that's just relevant to know where they're located and that these are currently the ones that can help guide you. Yeah, so that's basically startup visa. So that's really for people who have an idea that is innovative, but there's of course also an option for people who have a more experienced business plan or are already experienced entrepreneurs. And in that case, we have the self-employed permit. For the self-employed permit, you do not have to work together with a facilitator, but instead, in order to apply for this permit, you must meet the requirements of the points-based system. So you're assessed on this. The point-based system looks at 3 different aspects: your personal experience. In this category, they look at your academic background, your work experience, your entrepreneurial experience, your experience with the Netherlands. So depending on the evidence that you submit, depending on how many years of entrepreneurial experience, for example, and all the documents that you submit for this, you get a certain amount of points. Then section B looks at your business plan. They just want to see that you have a well-developed business plan already, where you have done a market analysis, competitors analysis, that you have shown the unique selling points of your business. What are you going to do? So just that you've done really good research into what you're going to be starting in the Netherlands. They want to see that your business is already registered in the Netherlands. And they also want to see a financial forecast, or years. If you are already an entrepreneur, they want to see financial information from your business from the previous years. And the last section is the added value for the Netherlands. In this case, they look at the innovation of your business or whether you're creating jobs. So in order to receive a positive advice for this permit, you have to receive 30 points per section. Not all businesses are innovative or add a value to the Netherlands. So in that case, it's also possible to receive 45 points for Section A and 45 points for Section B. That's just some practical information that's good to know. How does the permit look? Say you apply and receive a positive advice, then you get the permit for 2 years. After 2 years, the IND is going to look at whether you are able to pay yourself a salary, and that's at this time at least 70% of the minimum salary, so approximately 1,600 euros. So that's just for your image what this permit looks like. So those are 2 entrepreneurial ones, but then we of course also have options for people who want to work for a company. And in that case, we have the highly skilled migrant permit. This is a permit for people who want to work for a company in the Netherlands. So for example, if you're going to work for a large corporate, but there are 2 main requirements. One is that the company that you are applying at has to be a recognized sponsor. In the link on this page or on this slide, you can find a list from the IND with all the recognized sponsors in the Netherlands at the moment. I think there's approximately 8,000 or maybe even more, so there's quite a lot of them. And the second part is that you have to meet the salary criteria. So the company has to pay you a minimum of 4,171 euros if you're below 30, 5,688 euros if you're above 30 years old. So this is a minimum. Of course, if you have more experience, you can negotiate with them. And then the last option is the reduced salary criteria. And this is meant for more juniors, but that's a salary of a minimum of 2,989 euros. So yeah, these are the 2 main criteria if you're going to come to the Netherlands as a highly skilled migrant. Just a bit of information about the reduced salary criteria. The reduced salary criteria is meant, they created it so that companies can hire people who recently graduated or are at a more junior level. So it gives you the opportunity to apply for companies and actually have a chance of being hired if you do not have as much experience. But there are a few criteria in order to be eligible for the reduced salary criteria, and this mostly has to do whether you're eligible for the orientation year visa. It's a bit complicated right now if I explain it this way, but basically, if you apply for the orientation year visa after graduation and right afterwards, you can also you're still eligible for the reduced salary criteria. If you apply within 3 years of graduation, if you graduate and you do not apply for the orientation year visa and you go straight to working, you're also eligible for the reduced salary criteria. So these are the scenarios in which you're eligible. It might sound a bit complicated, so if you have questions about it, you could always reach out, but I'm also going to tell a bit more about the orientation year so that it might make more sense when you're eligible for the orientation year visa. But this is basically the highly skilled migrant. In terms of what does the process look like, the company applies. If the company isn't a recognized sponsor, they apply for your permit, and they, as the word says, they are your sponsor. As long as you have a contract, you have a residence permit. So, and of course, if you switch jobs during this time, and the company that you're going to work for next takes over that sponsorship, that's totally possible. You don't have to stay at the company the whole time. It's just important that they are, recognized sponsors and that they meet the salary criteria. So this is if you want to work for a larger company. I'd already explained a bit about the essential startup personnel. That's for people who want to work for a company, for a startup. I'm not going to go into detail about this one. In this slide, you can find some information on what the criteria are. But basically know that if you were to apply for a company in the Netherlands and they are not a recognized sponsor and they can't meet the salary criteria and they're still a startup, so they're less than 15 employees, this is an option. So it's not like there's no options if they're not recognized sponsor, but it's just The process is a bit more complicated, and it's also more relevant for the employer themselves. So if it were to ever pop up, don't hesitate to reach out and we can give you more information about it. And then, as I mentioned on our website, Welcome to NL, we also have a job platform. This is, if I'm not mistaken, at this point, there's about more than 1,600 companies on this job portal. All the jobs are English speaking, so they're all looking for internationals. They're divided into different sectors. You can filter on region as well. Just one important note, most of the companies are recognized sponsor, not all of them. If you are on this platform and you find a job that you want to apply for, first check on the IND list to make sure that they can actually sponsor your visa. But I think this is a very handy tool to get some insight into what the job market and the jobs are in the Netherlands at this moment. And in terms of applying for a job in the Netherlands and what a CV looks like, here are some links to the international welcome centers and the sessions that they organize are about this topic. Also, in terms of CV, one thing that I think is quite unique to the Netherlands is that we always add a photo of ourselves to the CV. I recently found out that that's not the case everywhere, so just be aware that in the Netherlands, I don't know what the reasoning behind it is, but they really like to have a photo of you on your CV, next to, of course, all the relevant information. So yeah, you can always take a look at this for some more information on how to, apply for a job.
Lisa, can I interrupt you for just a minute?
Of course.
We had a question about the highly skilled migrant permit,
Mhm.
which was how long do you have between jobs if you lose your original job on that permit?
3 months at the moment.
3 months.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I think in the Netherlands, you of course always have a if, for example, you were to get fired from a job, you have the notice, of course, from the company. Usually in the Netherlands, that's 1 month. For some companies, that's 2 months. But in between the permits, at the moment, it's 3 months. You have the time to find a new job. Do keep in mind that this could change. I think there have been some discussions about extending that period since they think it's too short. But on the website of the IND, you can always find this information. So just keep an eye on it in case it changes. Yeah, and then the last option, which I'm going to explain, is the orientation year visa, and that, as the name already says, it's really it's also called a search year visa. So it really gives recent graduates the opportunity to explore their options, see what they want to do. You can work on your own business, you can travel. That's really up to you, as long as you're registered in the Netherlands at all times, since it is a residence permit. There is one requirement in order to be eligible for this permit, and that is that or there's two actually. One is that if you graduated from outside the Netherlands, it is that you graduated from a master, PhD, or postdoc from a top 200 university. On our website, we have all 3 ranking lists that we use to see if a university from a top 200 list. Sometimes the university is not, but the faculty is. So really keep an eye on that. As long as that is within a top 200 on 2 of the lists, you're eligible. And you must apply up to 3 years after graduation. So say first you want to do something else and then apply for a year, that's possible, as long as it's within those 3 years. During this time, you can work for a company, and the company does not per se have to be a recognized sponsor. You can really work anywhere you want. So there's way more freedom during this permit. So yeah, this is actually quite straightforward. So these are all the permits that we advise on. Then just some last information. If you do ever decide to go to the Netherlands, we have developed a relocation tool or a relocation app. You can download it, fill in the region that you're going to, and you can receive practical information about the Netherlands. So that can just be a handy tool when moving. And as I said, these are the different international welcome centers in the Netherlands. They're located located all across the country, and they really offer support to internationals. Sometimes they organize network sessions or sessions for the spouses, partners, or just help with practical matters on receiving a bank account, for example. So if you do move somewhere, you can always visit them to see if they can help you in any way. And yeah, lastly, I hope this presentation was a bit insightful on what we can do for you, what the different options are. If anything is unclear, you can always email us to our NL entry at rvo.nl. And you can also visit our websites. The Netherlands point of entry one has more information on the permits, and the Welcome to NL one is a bit more about the Netherlands, what it looks like, jobs, etc. So feel free to take a look at it. And yeah, thank you very much.